So I'm Coach Brian Piranha. I have been a health coach for what seems like my whole career. Started back in 2001, got an exercise degree in 2004, nutrition, personal training, gym owner, you name it, I've done it. We do a lot of, right now currently do a lot of remote nutrition consultations and working with clients to help them reach their goals. So the next client I'm going to talk to, she's down 40-some pounds in the last 5-ish months or so, and we're looking to continue making that progress. So this is recorded, and the audio is here for you. I'm looking forward to talking. I'm going to share my screen. We're talking about hydration today, and how do we hydrate our way to health. Now the chat box is open. Love to see that, or the Q&A, whichever one works best for you. So please text, share, ask questions, engage, comments below. So hydrate your way to health. Obviously, our bodies are mainly, they're water. And it's really important to make sure that you are staying up on drinking water and other things that can help keep you hydrated. In the agenda today, we're going to go over hydration science, dehydration, why you want to stay away from that. The body does not, I always say this is a good analogy, the water to the body as oil to a car. And if the car doesn't have oil, there's a lot of friction and bad things happen to the engine when there's no oil in there. Now, the oil needs change on a regular every couple month basis. It's a closed system. Our body is an open system, so water goes in and it comes out the other way and through sweat. So we want to make sure that we're staying hydrated. Hydration for athletes, hydration for women, and then the other scenarios that show up for us. So what is the hydration, science of hydration? Water really is the role of improves lots of different roles in the body. Salvation, the mucous membrane needs to stay moist. If you don't have that, you can start to get ill a lot better. Obviously, we're flushing out our waste and through urine or the other way. And number 2, it's going to lubricate your joints. Can you imagine having your knee not have a lot of fluid in there to keep it lubricated? That would be a painful joint experience there. It helps with the shock absorber for your brain. So in your spinal cord, synovial fluid is there to help keep buffer and distance in your vertebral spine and vertebral discs. Helps the brain to manufacture hormones and neurotransmitters. Regulates body temperature, right? We sweat, we respirate. Air coming out of us has moisture in it, right? When you go, like that hot breath, that until your sunglasses are, you just need wiped off, so you on them and you rub it on your shirt. Well, that's an easy way to manage that's just an example of respiration coming through water in your breath. Converts food to components needed survival, so digestion. It helps with digestion quite a bit. Helps with oxygen delivery, H2O, so there's hydrogen and oxygen in water. It allows the body's cells to really grow, survive, and thrive. Total body water is something that if you were to step on one of those smart scales, you'll see something like this. It'll tell you how much water is in your body. Now, we're looking for about 50 to 70% of your total body mass is what we're looking for. Now, the more lean body mass that you have in your body, like muscle, the more that it's going to hold on to water. We want water. We want muscles to be hydrated. Think of beef jerky or think of filet mignon. We want to make sure that our muscles are more like filet and not like beef jerky. Then body fat can have some water, but not really a lot. So fat and water obviously don't mix. They separate like oil and water. Daily fluid balance. So water gained at rest. So fluid intake 60% plus the food intake is about 30% of your moisture and liquid. Then metabolic water production. So your body's doing things in the body to produce and have water available. Insensible water loss from skin and respiration. So water loss at rest is potentially 30% just from like evaporating off your skin or breath. There's sweat that's about 5%. Your urine is about 60%, and the fecal loss is about 5%. Now, when we have water loss during exercise, that can be up to 90% through sweating, and then 10% is just other ways that water dissipates in the body. Now, homeostasis is how sodium and fluid are balanced in the body. So we want to make sure, think like pH, acidic and alkaline. Your body does a really good job of keeping the body in homeostasis. And the same thing with here, the sodium and balance of water in the body. Now, if you have a lot of swelling and edema, then your body is obviously out of balance and something you want to pay a lot of attention to. The steady state of internal, physical, chemical conditions maintained by the living system. So, it's all the internal body's regulations equal what it's supposed to be, and there's balance. Now, blood plasma volume and osmolarity can go up and affect the kidneys. If it's too low, or too high, it can strain the kidneys in the act of filtration. Now, dehydration here. When you get dehydrated, you just literally have less water in your body. That can be very detrimental for you if you're not careful. Has anyone ever been dehydrated? I definitely know of at least one time that I've been dehydrated. I had some stomach bug and things just weren't sticking around, if you know what I mean. By 5 a.m., I was tapped out. I was walking around and I was getting tunnel vision. I had not realized what happened, and I ended up falling because I just was weak and just completely out of it. At that time, I didn't have to do anything other than just rest and hydrate, and I felt better in the day. But people have to go get like saline drips to get rehydrated sometimes. So it's something that's not great. The question for you, those that are on the workshop here, when do you know when you are dehydrated? And how do you feel when you are dehydrated? Now, so one person is saying that they feel dizzy, right? There's a lack of the body's ability to stay in balance that way. They get a headache, so they can really feel tension building in their neck and it creates headaches, or even a migraine can be triggered by dehydration as well. They cramp up, so like the dreaded like leg cramp in the middle of the night, your feet cramp, your hands cramp. Those are sure signs you might be dehydrated. And you're not going to want to move. You're going to feel tired. Here, I'm going to get a sip. Here's my 40-ounce bottle of water. Sometimes I put flavoring in it to make it easier to drink. But I drink about 3 of these in a day to help make sure that I stay hydrated with my overall activity level. Well, thanks for those who participated. That was helpful. Now, common symptoms of dehydration are obviously like you get thirsty, right? Your urine isn't clear. It's actually dark. It's yellow or a dark yellow or even darker. You're not really urinating, or when you do go, there's not a lot of urine. at any one time, that definitely means that you're dehydrated. At the very least, if you just watch your urine, that'll help you understand what your hydration level is. Now, dizziness or lightheadedness. Now, with this, what we have is just not feeling well, like the brain is just not functioning to the degree at which it can. And normally when there's dehydration, you're fatigued, you get dry mouth, your hands, lips definitely start to get dry. You have to constantly moisturize your skin, or it flakes if you're dry. Muscle cramps, definitely, as we talked about, fever. So your body can really have adverse effects to it. Now, side effects: reduced cognitive function, reduced focus. You're just not thinking clearly. You can't be productive with the times. You get absent-minded. You can increase kidney stones, right? You can increase different issues with your kidneys because they're filtering your body and its functions that it has. Susceptibility to heat illness, exhaustion. We've got certainly a heat stroke is like a very heavy issue if you are running hot in your body, and your body will shut down on you to preserve life functions. The summer's here now. In my neck of the woods, I think it's like in the 70s to 80s, so it's pretty comfortable. But in other places, there's some world record breaking heat waves going through. So those are times when you have to really pay attention to hydration, water, and outside activities. Of course, your ability to perform or lift weights or whatever is reduced. All right, so 75% of U.S. adults suffer chronic dehydration, drinking only like 2.5 cups on the day on average. Like, oh my gosh. And the impact that has can be significant for you and long-term health-wise. So that's something that we want to make sure. Now, we'll talk about recommendations, but even drinking like, say, half a can of like a 12-ounce can of filtered water every hour is going to get you more hydrated than you know what to do with, and not necessarily send you to the bathroom. So it's just taking sips every so often to stay hydrated. Now we have the WHAT system, a way to monitor how you can, how your thirst, how your hydration is. So number is weight, right? If you lose weight after an exercise routine, then obviously we're consuming less water there, especially if you lost like 3-4 pounds from a heavy sweat session. Your urine goes darker and your thirst goes through the roof. All right. From there, well, we have data needed to collect each morning. Body weight. We want to make sure you do it before you eat, drink, and then you want to go to the bathroom. You get a point for that if the body weight falls below less than 2% of normal weight. So you're not changing your urine. If it does change more, then you get a point off. If you have dark urine, then it's another point, and if you're thirsty, then there's another point, meaning that you're likely to be dehydrated. So if you just have 1 point, maybe the urine is colored, then but nothing else is a problem, then you might not be dehydrated. But the more points that you end up, your weight's down a lot, it's going to impact your training for exercise, your daily activities, how much you're going to want to have that motivation to get out and go do the things say dig around in your backyard and stuff. Dehydration is very likely if you have all three that have changed a significant amount from the day before. So definitely want to make sure that you get your body back in balance before you start to move and be active again. So here's the chart on urine. It goes from 1 is clear all the way to 8 is very dark. and you can judge. In general, just for me, I stay pretty hydrated. I'm always like a 1 or a 2. It's very rare that I would even get to typical normal colored urine. That's just me. Hydration is a priority. I move a lot. I exercise a lot, and so that is important in this process for me. Staying hydrated, drinking more water creates opportunities to drink. You want to be mindful about it. How in the day can you get more water in? So the image that we have here is like a water cooler. Making sure you get up from work and get some water in more occasionally. We want to limit alcoholic beverages for sure. They can act as a dehydrator to the body. Consider consuming electrolytes with fluids when you do have excessive loss of it. There's lots of different electrolyte tablets and sticks, they call them, out there. Some that come to mind is your classic Emergen-C for like immune booster. It has a lot of electrolytes in it. Nun, N-U-U-N is one. Element, it's E-L-M-T. There's Drip Drop. There's Liquid IV. There's a lot of different ones. If you stay hydrated and you eat a good balanced diet, you don't really need them unless you want to like cover your bases with electrolytes. But those are going to be better than, say, just like going to the good old Gatorade. I think Gatorade has got a lot of sugar in it, and it doesn't have as much of the potassium and stuff that you would have and need, like sodium, potassium for the for the electrolytes. So myth busting: cough equals dehydration. Now, although urine output can be increased with coffee and caffeine consumption, the actual result on body fluid balance doesn't appear to be negative overall. I had done a little bit of studying on this myself, trying to figure out, like, what is this? Well, back in the 50s or something, they had people drink a bunch of coffee, and then the rate of urine increased, and so they said that caffeine was a dehydrant. But if you drink more water, you're going to have to pee more as well. So for me, it doesn't make tons of sense. Now, if you're an athlete, we want to look at making sure that hydration is an integral part of your daily life, and especially around your activity. Being really active, especially with the heat, you're going to be needing to have lots of you're going to need lots and lots and lots of water to replenish it. Yeah, people and athletes who train and compete for a lot of hours, from 1, 2, 3 hours in a day to like 5 to 10 plus hours in a week, they can really reach a lot of fluid loss as high as like 10 to 15 liters per day. And so that needs to be replenished. When it comes to an athlete's hydration strategy, there's no one-size-fits-all approach, of course, right? If someone's really tall, a big person, and they sweat a lot, then they need to have more ability and access to getting some liquid and rehydration there. Now, estimating sweat rate. So sweat rate is obviously variable, and so there's multiple different ways to measure. We can check our weight, then we can exercise, we check our weight again, and then you can find and calculate the difference. That's how you can understand how much weight you lost through sweating. So if you're low exercise, like under sweating, it says 2.2 pounds of loss is about 32 ounces of water that would need replaced. So you might need to get a lot more water in on a regular basis. Other factors that impact sweat rate, of course, is the intensity, the duration. The longer you go, the more likely you'll be sweating. The harder you go, the more likely you'll be sweating. The environmental factors: heat, humidity, altitude can be one as well. So you need to be paying attention to that. Different body sizes: your petite, average, muscular, overweight. You have sweat sodium concentration. So like making sure that there is If you see salt coming out on your arm, which I have done from sweating so much in hard summer workouts, you know you definitely need more. So we want to make sure that you are in an average amount of sweat to sodium concentration. If you were to get like tested or something, this is beyond most of our scopes, is that we're looking for just under 1,000 milligrams per 32 ounces of liquid there. So what we do is we find our sweat concentration times the sweat rate times duration equals what your net losses are to help understand how to replenish them as we go. Now, how do we hydrate? Now, we don't need to necessarily replace 100% of the sweat loss in the time that you are exercising. We just want to make sure we're doing it over the next day or so. When we have longer exercise in the heat, the body can alter physiological responses. So reduce the risk of hyperthermia, lowering cardiovascular strain. So if we keep the liquid going in, we're going to not have issues with these. It helps protect blood flow to active skeletal muscles, skin, your brain. So your water protects the heat in your body, protects the muscles, the organs to help make them function properly. Neural function can alter if we end up getting dehydrated. Your perceived exertion can go up or down too. So if you stay hydrated and you stay fed in a workout, then you too can manage the perceived effort from that training situation. If we're reducing the reliance on carbohydrate as a fuel by staying hydrated, that's like muscle glycogen. Muscle glycogen is stored carbohydrates in the body, and that's what we want to make sure that we are focused on maintaining in long-term exercise activities. Now, if you have a good hydration strategy, then your performance will stay up and possibly increase. So what happens if we are performance is going down, then we need to make sure that we're planning our ability toward hydration. If you have more intensity, longer duration, and it's going to be hot, you definitely need a hydration strategy. You probably should be well hydrated, be hours and hours beforehand. If it's a lower activity, lower duration, it's not that cool out, then you can drink to thirst. Can be a really easy way to manage that. Now, how do we focus on hydration for women? So what we have is no gender differences. So separate hydration strategies for men and women isn't warranted. Even if like the menstrual cycles on sodium and fluid balance, it appears to be minimum in studies that is shown. So we don't need to worry about having extra water around certain times of like a woman's cycle or something like that. So American College of Sports Medicine on exercise and fluid replacement states the sex differences in renal water and electrolyte retention are relatively subtle and most likely not of consequence. So you don't have to worry about the impact of just women having a different hormonal response. Now, practical perspective here. So the sweat sodium concentration, there's no significant differences in the sweat sodium concentration between males and females, and it's just largely determined by the individual themselves. Sweat rate, men can typically have more sweat rate than women because they're larger, bigger, more muscle mass usually, and that's the biggest different metabolic rates. Now with menopause for women, hot flashes get the body hot, right? And it seems to come on from nowhere. I wouldn't necessarily obviously know what that looks like because I'm a man, but I certainly know what it is. And the susceptibility to dehydration may be increased in that situation. So you just have to be conscious of making sure that you're staying hydrated. Now, if we have hydration into the and aging, less water to start with. So the total amount of your body water decreases between 20 and 80 by 15%. So at the end of our lives, we don't need as much water. We're less active. We have less muscle mass. We have less body mass usually. We tend to lose more water through our urine. Our kidney functions don't do so well anymore. That's just a fact, right? There's lower hormonal responses for sodium to be conserved in the body, and your body doesn't retain water effectively as it once did. We have thirst is diminished, so you're not thirsty or you don't sweat a lot, and the sensation of being thirsty is just not necessarily there. So wrapping up with some other scenarios, obviously travel. We want to stay well hydrated, make sure we avoid alcohol and excessive coffee, carrying empty bottles around, eating like hydrated foods like fruit and vegetables. That adds, right, 20% of your food, 30% can add to your total body. You might want to add more sodium to help maintain that. Illness is severe dehydration can result in like the runs, right, diarrhea, or even vomiting. That's kind of what happened to me. It's just things wouldn't stay in anymore. Now, you could get something prescribed for you to help diurylate. There you go. Could be a way to help preserve liquid in the body. So it could be a saline drip, and it could be, it helps to treat some large issues and definitely like third world countries, because that's a rehydration solution done by the World Health Organization. So as we wrap up, the conclusion is obviously staying hydrated is super important to you. We need to monitor electrolytes. We need to monitor, even more importantly, like the color of your urine, how much water weight has been lost in an activity, how hot it is, how long you exercise. And it's just really simple if you stay hydrated and you drink plenty of water consistently, then you'll be able to manage this. Evidence suggests coffee is not dehydrating, so you can use that in your hydration strategy, which if you're like me, I'm like, hey, I drink generally 2 cups a day, and I do include it in my strategy. And then just being conscious of the environment and the scenario situations you're going to find yourself in. So I want to thank you for your time today, joining me on how to hydrate better, and make sure you're paying attention to that. So hopefully you found this very helpful, and you can reach out and ask questions. You're more than welcome to. So I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.